This is Friendly Fire. And the idea behind that name is, Crossfire that was on CNN, and then Firing Line, which was Buckley, right? William Buckley.
I believe so.
Yeah.
He has his bow tie on, folks.
Tell him what you told me a couple of days ago. You started coming up. You wanted to have a whole bunch of stuff prepared. Matter of fact, he didn't want to start this show for a month, and because he wanted to prepare and come in here and kick some ass, and got the wrong idea. So.
Yeah, the thing of it is, folks, I don't want to come onto the radio and portray myself. I am a self-proclaimed liberal. I will, pretty much admit that and not be shy about it. However, I don't want to come on the radio and portray myself as a unintelligent, uninformed liberal, as a few conservatives I know tend to be. So,
present company accepted, I'm sure.
That is, of course, I would never disrespect you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Well, that's okay if you did. You wouldn't be the first.
So yeah, originally I was planning on preparing a few things and a few notes and just making sure I had all my facts right. But, as Chris said the whole week, just fly by the cuff, have fun with it. So I've got a few topics that I think we can discuss, but most of all, we're going to have fun. We're going to disagree. We're going to be snarky. We're going to yell. I'm going to have a few catchphrases.
Yeah,
he's going to laugh at
we have a catchphrase here. For our first catchphrase in the night, we're going to probably hear a lot. When Steve gets a little angry, he's got a catchphrase. Let me give him a little reverb.
I don't need this.
And it's one of those well-known facts until about the 70s, until, your elder brethren, in other words, hippies, until they started showing up on the scene. But California used to be...
Thing we're going to discuss.
Yeah, California used to be also a very conservative, slant Republican state. I'm sure you know that.
That is true, yes.
All right.
They elected Reagan for that.
They called that the good old days, in case you were... Anyway.
Oh, they did? Oh, okay.
While I was a tormentor...
He was a tormentor. He taught me maybe one or two things. You see, folks, the thing of it is with Chris at work, he is wrong quite a bit, but he never wants to admit it, and then he'll be shy.
All right, let's straighten things out a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Here we go.
He just hates it when I'm right. And how often is that? How often? Come on.
All right, I'm not going to be a jerk.
Jerk. There's another keyword. Jerk.
He will do things that are just completely uncanny as far as extrasensory perception. Things that pilots do, he will call 5 minutes previous and then laugh and say, hey, look at this, look what has happened, and then call it, and then seek me out, call me back to the area to tell me these things because he knows how frustrated I get.
He hates it when I'm right, and unfortunately I'm right too often.
In air traffic control, let's put
it.
That's why I'm on this show, because I feel... That's
I need a little counterbalance. Is that it?
Yeah, a little counterbalance is nice.
All right.
You are very good at your job, and you are a pretty good mentor as well. So yeah.
All you single women out there, Mr. Gillette is single, and although he is liberal and possibly partially gay, he is single, I think.
Whoa. Okay, that I don't need.
No, say it the right way.
I don't need this, Chris.
If you look at our picture online at LightningRod Radio, you will see that we sort of look related, but we are not. At least
we are not related. Let's make that clear.
But people mistake us as father and son, and it's just not true.
It's just not true.
It just isn't true.
I originally wanted to be a licensed pilot, and he's getting a kick out of this. This is great. So I did get my pilot's license in the Finger Lakes region as the, what are those things?
What things?
What are those things?
That was a donkey.
A donkey.
Jackass.
Oh, that's the joke?
Well, no, it's a Democrat thing. Okay. Anyway, sorry, go ahead. I thought you'd be able to talk your way through it.
Anyway.
And people are usually entertained when me and him start going at it. And then when we're done... We laugh about it. We move on. We don't hold a grudge. My friend Steve here is an devout atheist, right?
That is correct.
All right. We've had this discussion, and I'm sure we'll have it, and I have no problem with that part of it, right?
And I just want to make it clear, I'm not agnostic. I have always said that if God came down right now and stood in front of me and said, hello, I'd said, okay, that's cool. And I'd shake his hand. Cool, yeah, you're here. That's awesome. It would be,
hello, Stephen. Guess who I am? Guess where you're going? And I do have a sound of flames. I should have played that for you.
Okay. Can you see how much he loves to use the sound effects?
Our first show, Our first issue, the first thing that we're going to disagree about, the movie Spaceballs.
Oh, man.
Yep. We completely disagree on this movie.
100%.
Yes. I think it sucks.
And I think it's a work of comedic genius.
And I have a pretty wide open sense of humor. I mean,
he does.
But this is brutal. And I love Mel Brooks. I hate John Candy. I don't think he's the least bit funny.
Okay.
Except for one movie, and that was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Otherwise, he is not a funny guy.
Why?
Because he's just not. I watched him before you were born on Second City TV, SCTV, and I slogged through that, the alternative to Saturday Night Live, and most of those guys on there were not funny. Like, you're still a punk, so, you haven't quite come of age yet, but anyway.
Really? 27, folks. That's it. I'm 27. He sounds like I'm 18 years old over here.
I feel a catchphrive coming on.
I don't need this.
It could go both ways, much like yourself.
It could be very... Oh.
Yeah, see, I get it every so often throwing a little liberal stereotype jab just because.
Yes. Where's my Starbucks and my dreadlocks and my Occupy Wall Street T-shirt?
Yes, and the guy goes to Starbucks the other day and he doesn't buy me anything.
What does he get, folks? A hot chocolate. Who gets a hot chocolate at Starbucks?
I don't drink coffee, and it's not a religious thing. I just don't like coffee.
He didn't need it. Really.
I don't need that. So we are going to bring on Bill, and Bill is with Apollon Astrology, and you can find him at his website, which is apollonastrology.com, APOLLON.
What's going to happen is he's going to come on and describe what the sort of, based on where you were born, when you were born, he's going to basically read your star chart and decide, based on your signs and where those signs interact with each other in the astrological patterns and whatnot, describe what maybe your destiny would be, what kind of dominant trait you might have, and how that dominant trait might play out in your daily life, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, the cool thing he's going to do, since we're doing this show together, he's going to do a chart with us together on one chart.
That's the cool part.
Yeah, to see how we interact with each other.
Right.
Thank you very much, Chris. And yes, you were correct on the website. And with all the Virgo and Capricorn in your chart, how could you possibly be wrong? So, Capricorn is the universal president, and they also have the annoying ability to always be correct. And as we all know, you are never wrong, my friend. Chris, it is very easy for you to speak your mind and to know what's going on. And then additionally, you are extremely stable, very even-keeled, can organize and assimilate information extremely easily, again and again. And yours, interestingly enough, shows a gift of great thinking, great ideas, and then a humanitarian or collective consciousness bent to that, which you have shown in your political manifestations for career and what you do as an air traffic controller, and then just like forming LightningRod Radio and the blogs and websites that you've had in the past. I
got to stop you here. You're killing Steve. Go ahead. Wait a minute. Catchphrase.
Okay. I don't need this.
He is dying here.
I don't think there's enough room in this room for Chris and his ego and me.
Well, Stephen, something that you have to realize is that Chris really doesn't have an ego. The Chris's main impetus here, or his main bent, is that he is a Capricorn rising, and so in his soul, at his soul level, he knows he's the universal president. He knows he's in charge, and he knows he's always right, which, unfortunately for the rest of us, he is. And sometimes it's annoying, and then sometimes you're really happy because he's always right. He has the ability to go extremely deep and have a very intuitive, psychic, dream-like addition to all of this earth and air, which is, it's a very unique chart. Very interesting that both of you have minds in mutable fire, which means exactly why you're having this show. Because Sagittarius, I like to think of Sagittarius as the righteous warrior. It's the one that seeks truth and justice, and they stand up for the downtrodden, and they're the professional student. and the professional traveler and just very worldly and knowledgeable and can be very easily excitable, as sometimes you both are. And so, in a manner of speaking, you could say that Chris's outward expression, his expression of vitality, his ability to assert himself, how he presents himself, these kind of ego-esque traits are directly in line, on the same degree as Stephen's life's mission, his life's work. You could say that Stephen's Venus, representing what he loves in life, is assisting Chris, your mission in life and what you need to work on in life.
Listen to that.
The very interesting thing about this is his Uranus. It's the only other planet he's got in fire. So Stephen's only got 2 planets in fire. That's Mercury, the way his mind works, and Uranus, which is his unusual inspiration.
And when I think of Stephen, I do think of that planet.
Oh, man. Somebody's always got to go there.
Got to go there, man. I love how you said it, too, because you were trying to rise above that joke, Bill.
Well,
you had to go back down to it.
I'm going to Anyway, so anything else of any interest on our charts?
It's going to be interesting to see, Chris, how your soul in Capricorn, being the universal president and always being right, interacts with Stephen's soul in Cancer, which you're going to need to handle him with kid gloves because he just doesn't need this right now.
So, there you have it. I am the universal president. I think it's been made clear.
Earlier you had said that I was single, and actually that is not the case.
Oh,
so
you have. So
I am seeing somebody at
that could dovetail into another hot topic: gay marriage.
Oh, jeez.
I've definitely never seen these idiotic vampire movies.
Yes, I think if there's one thing we can agree on is that Twilight is garbage. I don't care how much the chat room lights up for that comment. The movies are garbage.
What pissed me off about that movie is that M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong. He was just trying so hard to be clever.
Real mature.
Signs sucked.
Signs was okay.
Signs sucked.
Signs was okay.
And I like Mel Gibson, but that sucked.
You want to know what Signs was for me? I saw that movie as a final resting thing. It was like a final resting place for my fear of... When I was a kid, I was afraid of aliens. I was afraid of getting abducted by aliens. It scared the crap out of me.
Did you get anally probed?
It was about 6 months ago on a very cloudy, cool fall evening. I was getting out of my car, and I had a very long day of work after, ironically enough, being trained by one Chris Rodriguez.
Me?
Yes, you.
Cool.
Yeah. And boy, was he hard on me. So I was down.
You remember the actual training session?
I was downtrodden that day.
I'm not hard on any trainee. Usually I'm just,
go off.
Usually it sounds good. Usually I get a lot of laughs, and
you do,
and I want to keep it loose, and
exactly.
And so anyway,
one of his famous things is so when you're down the crapper, he loves to pull this evil laugh, and he's like, "What you gonna do?" And then there's the laugh. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Yeah. Planes are coming together. There's utter chaos in the sector, but what you going to do? I don't care. But anyway, so getting out of the car, I had just come from work, and I still had my badge on because we're required to wear a security badge when we go into the job to open the doors and to show the security guards and whatever. So I went to go get my mail at the little mail kiosk that we have in my apartment complex, and this very tiny, very sweet, purple-haired little old lady is next to me getting her mail. I go and get it, slowly open the key, and she looks at me and then looks at my badge and looks at me again with a semi-kind stare, and she says, "Do you work for the federal government?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I do." All proud. I got my shoulders out. I got my back arched. I'm proud that I work for the federal government.
And he was just trained by me.
Yes, I felt wonderful. So anyway, she gives me a very cold Clint Eastwood-like stare, and you could hear the wolves like in the mountains starting to howl. The moon starts to come out, and she points her finger in my face roughly and says, "It's people like you who are taking advantage of hardworking taxpayers like me and my husband and mooching on handouts of the system. Get a real job, you bum. I just want to know why the federal... I knew you were going to break that out at some point tonight. Why does the federal workforce continually be demonized by society and their role in society? Why does this continue to happen? Thoughts?
Are you through yet?
I am. That was my little... apparently that was too liberal for Chris, and it reminded him of the Soviet Union. We're going to have a long 6 months.
Now I'm going to play my song. Isn't that better?
No.
No. I like the Soviet Union national anthem better. All right, so...
you jerk.
You jerk.
You jerk.
Admit to me, President Obama... by the way, you notice how you guys just said George Bush. You didn't say president. I will say, number one, he's my boss, but number two, the office deserves respect.
Thank you for that.
I've always said
thank you for that.
I don't care who it is.
Absolutely. Because so a right-winger that actually believes in math. Okay,
once you grow up a little, and you have...
Geez. I got those numbers from New York Times and NPR, damn it.
Oh, shocker. Here, I got a song for you whenever I think about either of those organizations.
Folks, doesn't it just make your heart warm? A nice cold bowl of gruel in front of you, working for the state-run government as you get kicked in the head with a butt of a gun. It makes my heart bleed, actually.
What is it with you liberals and the problem you have with women? They're so obsessed with what's between the legs, and not so much what's between the ears. And that's me from the left coast, but always right, and
Stephen Gillette from the right coast, but always on the left.